I would request the members to propose. Yeah, so I'll just repeat the question. So here it's about Section 155, whether the demand is sustainable, specifically considering Section 155, the burden of proof that is there on the taxpayer. So, any views of the House? Anybody? Padma, you want to share your views on this? Or anybody else?
I'm putting forward that that particular defect that the officer is telling, where it is the differences between 2A and 3B. They are not quoting any provisions as if what is violated at all. So I see there is an ambiguity, or there is a vagueness in the notice in which what I have violated. Whether they are telling I have violated, that I have to claim only the ITC that is appearing in 2A, or they are telling that I have not. I don't have the inward supply and I am claiming the ITC. So there's a specific vagueness in this defect that we get.
Can that notice be challenged on that vagueness itself, citing Brindavan beverages?
Yeah, I am of the opinion that that can be done.
Right. So, what Sridhar is telling, or what Padma is also supporting, is that since the allegation itself is not clear as to what is the wrong that I have committed, because of which the ITC needs to be reversed. So, since that is not clear under which section or provision of law I violated, that is not clear. So, we are basically thinking of challenging the entire show cause notice itself.
Yes. See,
Yeah.
Arupdi, we can put it this way.
Yes.
73 or 74 can be invoked only when there is non-payment, short payment, wrongful availment or wrongful utilization of credit. So
Right.
it is on the officer to say that there is a wrongful availment or wrongful utilization.
Right.
And how it is wrongful also. Here they are not mentioned how it is wrongful. So to that extent, even jurisdiction. So whenever there is any jurisdiction assumed, the onus is on the person to prove the jurisdictional fact.
Right. So you're saying since the allegation itself is not clear, so I don't have the burden also to prove that the allegation is not right. So that is one thing.
Yeah, I'm deprived of taking any suitable grounds in the sense. Though we can.
So anybody else? Any other views? Shravana Kumarji? Or anybody? Annapurna ma'am, Paul sir, you want to share your views on this? You, Yashashi, he has also joined from Rajasthan. So any of your views on this? Because 155 is truly becoming a new avatar actually. It's a new avatar. Because till now, they were not quoting, but now they've started quoting Section 155 in many situations.
Yeah.
Sir, I think we need to have a distinction between burden of proof and onus of proof.
Right.
Here, when burden of proof is discharged upon self-assessment completed under Section 59. And now the onus of proof is actually on the department to prove otherwise. That's my view.
That we have not availed the wrong ITC, rather we have availed the correct ITC.
Yeah,
so
exactly. They should have evidence to the contrary, because
yes, I agree. I agree with
nature, what is the nature of the business is not established. Maybe he's a paint seller also. We don't know. So just because there is some creditors that is there for paint doesn't mean that ITC is ineligible, right?
Right.
Yeah. Like ma'am said, we are receiving demand for a jewelry business that gold is ineligible, and they demand hefty amount of nearly 1 crore rupees as a demand.
So you're saying basically on the basis of the HSN?
Yeah, basis of the HSN.
Yeah.
They are demanding. I think it's through AI generated notice where it takes all the information, electronic goods, HSN. In what circumstances this become ineligible is not clear in the notice, because it is not covered by Section 17(5). And in what case are you telling that it is ineligible?
Right.
Sir,
Like
I
in
want
our-
to, sir, I want to add one thing that
Yeah,
in
please.
this case, certain facts are missing that we all agree. But when we read notice as a whole, so at the end of the notice, it is always stated that under which section demand is created. So let's presume in this that at the end of the notice, there might be section 73 or 74 in which demand has been created. And when we go through 73, it says where it appears to the proper officer that any tax has been paid or not paid, or where input tax rate has been wrongly availed. So if it appears to the proper officer that input tax credit has been wrongly availed, then it can issue notice under section 73. Right. So I think the only mistake which officer has made is that it has not identified the particular section in which input tax credit has been wrongly availed. But substantially, if he says that input tax credit is actually wrongly availed, then I think it is difficult to challenge the validity of the notice.
Yeah, that is a view. But again, the counter to this view that we take is that then it becomes a fishing exercise. Then you send me a notice, I give you a reconciliation, and then from the reconciliation you find out further things. These ITCs, as Srinidhi was rightly saying right now. So it has happened in a practical matter wherein the client got a notice under Rule 5618 of GST rule, which is about maintenance of records, and said that so give us you have availed wrong credit, so give us your ITC register and also credit note register of the supplier. So the RTP submitted all this, and now they have come with a new thing saying that you have availed all these credits wrongly. Why? Because this HSN is of motor car spare parts, and now this client is actually into large infra projects. So they use some of the spare parts of motor car in their own machinery also. It's required. Similar type of HSN is there for both of them. So this also becomes a challenge because sometimes it becomes a fishing exercise. They are not aware about the allegation. They come with a reference, they take the document and they go into further allegation. So
yes, sir, please, sir.
Yeah, so I think that is one thing. So,
sir, but what I think is that in such situations, it is essential to reply to the notice in such a manner that we are stick to the notice itself. Rather than giving the details that there is difference between 3B and 2A and giving the justification, it's better to ask the officer that what has been alleged in the notice specifically. Because as you mentioned in your scenario, in which case assessee has given certain information. So from that information, they identified some new information. They might have issued new notice also. I think there is no restriction in issuing another notice on them.
Right.
Fine.
They are then issued fresh notice.
One more
Again,
fact.
Ashutosh has come out with a very interesting thing, which is saying the word appears without legal backing should not be triggered. So it appears means he should have a reason to believe why he believes that it appears to him that the ITC is got excessive.
Yes.
Yeah, Anupama, ma'am, you are saying something.
Yeah, nothing. One thing I was just trying. I think this burden of proof has to be read along with this 101 of the Evidence Act, where they say that the evidence can be an oral evidence or it can be a documentary evidence. So whatever this, they are relying on this GST 2A statement. Tomorrow it can be also called as a documentary evidence, because evidence can be an oral evidence or documentary evidence or written evidence. So what I'm just trying to add up here is tomorrow the court can say that this 2A on which they have relied upon and where they say that it is in excess of what you have availed in that credit. I think we have to substantiate with the evidence which we have along with the other evidence like payment to the what I can say supplier, this transport documents, which we borrow these principles from Ecom Gill Supreme Court decision. So I think along with that, we can try to substantiate with other documents so that we can try to genuinely prove that, because only in section 155, the burden is on the taxpayer. So you have to, because very clearly it says that when you claim that it is eligible, then burden of proving shall lie on such person. So I think with other evidence based on 101, I think I believe that we can still substantiate this credit based on 155.
Venuji, you wanted to share something?
Yes. So, couple of points. My thing is, see, 155 is a procedural section placed in the miscellaneous chapter. So, there can never be a notice on 155. They can only be seeking an explanation under 155. I want you to prove.
Yes.
The demand that is created under 73-74 should specifically again say which condition of 16 or 17 violated. Even when that example of the motor vehicle, they cannot say 17.5 as a disallowance. They have to specifically say 17.5B. Things like that, very important for the officer to sustain a demand. He has to be very specific in the thing. 155 is just a procedure seeking during the course of inquiry, asking to prove. But for disallowing or creating a demand, 155 cannot be used. It is only 16 and 17. And in the current case, the notice is kind of vague and it is referring to like sundry creditors and 37. So kind of the anomaly. Again, I think Soumya madam brought about this burden of proof and onus of proof. The moment you establish that, okay, this is a genuine purchase. So the ineligible credits are appearing in 2A. In spite of that, my 3B is higher than 2A. So I still went and taken the credit basis the books of accounts. And we have circular 183 and 193 to justify that. I think saying that without giving reconciliation should be the response of the taxpayer. Not necessary that he has to do a reconciliation. He can just give basis books of accounts. Now, at a later stage, should we reconcile with the 2A or not? I think those, like as Arupji rightly said, it would become a fishing exercise. The moment you give the reconciliation, it would create one more other thing. Some work department should also do. Basis my books of accounts, they do whatever they want to do.
One more point to add, Venu. I think this burden of proof is always on the taxpayer. It cannot shift as the onus of proof shift actually. Onus of proof can
That's
shift
what
to either
burden is
party.
definitely with me. That is where I will establish with my books of accounts.
Yeah.
I
So
am
that's
not shifting it. I am saying these are my genuine purchases. Like we are underlying presumption is the purchases are genuine. It is recorded in the books. I would state that and leave it there is what I am saying.
Venuji, SK Malhotra from Jammu, Venuji.
Haji sir, Haji sir.
I have to add here something, that when you say that we do not need to give them a reconciliation, but we need to give them books of accounts. Okay. But in books
when
of
I say
accounts,
need not give a reconciliation, sir, I am saying 3B versus 2A. I would give reconciliation between books versus 3B. This is my credit in the books. This is what I have taken in 3B. That I would be giving.
Madam, sir, in that case, we will be giving them our entire purchase statement, entire bills. What documents we are going to give them then?
Books of accounts, purchase, my PR and my 3B.
My purchase as per books
and 3B.
And 3B. I have taken according to this. No, there will be a one more step then. Are we having those purchases with me, purchase invoices with me to satisfy the condition? Then I think it will be a plethora for the other eligibility conditions of the section 16. So then if I give them the purchase, yeah, this is my purchase, this is my genuine purchase, then I have to prove them that these are the purchases which are eligible for ITC, sir. Then it will be a very, very vast exercise then, sir.
No. No, I would put it other way, sir. So if I am saying that this is my genuine purchase and in eligible purchase, it would be on the officer to prove that it fits under 17.5C. See, I am fitting it under 16.1 and 16.2.
Okay.
Now, if the officer is saying that it is ineligible, he has to fit somewhere under 17.5 ABC.
Basically, sir, I tell you that these 2A, 3B differences, there they demand only the difference. Just try to understand. They only demand the difference. Okay.
Correct.
Yes. If we satisfy them, I think we should not give them the entire purchases, entire thing. We should stick towards the difference. This is the difference. This is due to these things, and then the officer will be having only that data, and in the order to the show cause notice, he may say that I agree with this or I don't agree with this. For example, in that difference is was 1 lakh rupee. In 1 lakh rupee, I have got certificates as per the circular of 75,000 rupees. I give them,
Right.
okay, these invoices are not reflected in 2A. That's why difference of 75,000 is like this. Okay. And balance 25,000, maybe I have brought forward from the previous year. So it was in previous year. So that will be a simple thing for me to understand, make him understand, sir.
I think it is at the type of the officer and the forum which we are representing. If the officer would like his knowledge is only limited to 2A versus 3B reconciliation, then what you are saying is right. But if I'm dealing with the DGJ and higher people who has
Then-
tools and ability to go beyond,
And then that is there. That is something else,
yeah.
sir. I'm talking of 2A, 3B notices which their state taxes department is sending.
Yeah, right.
Normal. That is the routine notices. They are sending it, and they are not writing that why it is. So they are giving only one reason. In the show cause notice, there is only one reason. They are saying that ITC will not be available to you because it is not reflected in 2A. So I have to restrict my reply to that point only. That's all. That is my view, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I have one point to add over here. Now, as far as input tax credit is concerned, it is per invoice and per inward supply. Now, is it sufficient for the officer to take the entire 2A versus 3B and give the gross difference as a liability? Or is it on the officer to tell that ITC is excess availed for which particular invoice? So this 70, when he's issuing a show cause notice under section 73, is he not bound to tell that against which particular invoice input tax credit is excess availed? So then the burden will be under section 155 on the taxpayer to establish that it is not excess availed.
Yeah, it's a qua credit. So which aspect
And one more point
the
to
credit?
add, sir. When Annapurna ma'am says that the burden of proof always lies with the taxpayer, does it mean that when the GST officer asks, I have to produce each and every invoice on which I have claimed the credit? I mean, that won't be practically possible for every month. Every invoice you show me, then only I will allow the input tax credit. Then that won't be the right way, right?
Madam, I would put it this way. I would say that here is my purchases register. Like you want to verify, you pick any sample. You want to verify everything, okay, you go and do the audit and you come to the premises, you keep verifying. Whichever you did not get, you come to me. Because in 65 also, I should only give a reasonable assistance. I will not become a subordinate for him to complete his audit.
Correct.
Soumya, what I think is, it is an obligation for the taxpayer to prove the facts, whatever has been raised, right? So, based on that, what I'm saying is that the burden of proof doesn't lie on the revenue; it lies on the taxpayer. Whether you agree, you don't agree, or you say it is a notice is cryptic, whatever reason you want to give, that all burden has to be given. That burden of proof is always on the taxpayer. That is what I was just trying to stress upon. Even though the officer has denied that ITC, still he doesn't have any burden to prove that why he has denied it. Ultimately, you have to take it. That is what I'm trying to read this 155.
Yes, ma'am. But what I am trying to say is they
Yeah.
should have some contrary evidence to my self-assessment.
I
Simply
agree.
they cannot tell that all my invoices are ineligible unless and until you prove it. I will not allow that kind of stand. They cannot
Yeah.
take. But if they have some evidence to say that that particular ITC has been incorrectly availed, then they have to prove it first.
Okay. So I
Now,
think
in
we can.
continuation of this,
Yeah.
ma'am, that they have to have some evidence to disprove my
Yes.
self-assessment. Now, whether that some evidence can be mismatched between 2A and 3B on a gross level.
Because if we read 101 of Indian Evidence Act, it says that on whom the burden of proof lies, the burden of proof in a suit or a proceeding lies on that person who would fail if no evidence at all were given on either side. So either of one has to prove with the evidence, whatever the allegation, if they are raising, they have to prove with the evidence. But if the allegation is raised, then it is the duty of the taxpayer to prove the fact actually. So that is what I think we have to understand
Yes,
from this
ma'am. But
101 and the section 155.
yeah, but at which point of time this evidence has to be shown, ma'am? Like after a notice is issued under 73, can the officer expect some data? Can he require data submission as a reply to show cause notice? It will be only grounds of defense against the allegation which is being made.
Yes, I agree. That has to be done at inquiry stage, not at the time of adjudication. But if they have raised that in the adjudication, then again you have to substantiate with the evidences to allegate your defense actually, to defend your allegation.
But
But
again,
I-
adjudication should be restricted to the notice.
Yes.
So basically, there is
Srini,
still.
sorry to interrupt, Srini, it's 9:30. So I just want you to manage so that we complete by 10.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Prince, were you telling something?
Yeah, sir, my point is how to strike a balance between burden under section 155 and show cause notice suffering from vagueness.
I think where if show cause notice, like how what you rightly pointed out, if they are taking directly in show cause notice, they are alleging that they are bringing it directly in a show cause notice where they are asking for I mean, instead of asking for information, they are directly alleging that you have taken excess ITC. There will be a slight differences, but there will be a chance where we can say that there's a vagueness in show cause notice. But there are court proceedings where they say that if sufficient opportunity of being heard is given, then might be that 155 will be surface, and we can't take the grounds that the show cause notice suffers from weakness.
See, Arubai, can I say something?
Yeah. Hello.
I just wanted to say that we had a very eye-opener discussion. But what I personally feel is that the query is whether the demand is sustainable, specifically considering Section 155.
Yes.
The question which was to be discussed here was that does it make a vague notice if the content of the provision is mentioned in the notice, but the section is missing. So that is what I guess the question was. So what I feel about it is that once you see and go through once you appreciate the facts which are given in this particular query or case study, is that the the assessing officer is already saying that there is a difference between GSTR 3B as compared to 2A. So in my view, it makes it abundantly clear that what is the contention of the assessing authority, because I'm sure you all know that there are judgments in support to this also, that merely not mentioning the particular section or a very small inadvertent mistake in the notice will not make it a vague notice. So what I feel is that
Sir, can I interrupt? Sorry, can I interrupt here?
And let me complete, then otherwise I will forget.
Okay.
The second limb of the question is that ITC with relation to ineligible goods. So that comes 17.5 also comes into picture. So what else we need in the notice to make it a clear notice? I mean, on merely by not mentioning the section number in the notice, will it really make this a vague notice? That's what my point is.
Yeah, it is not only about section, sir. It is about against which inward supply, which invoice is the ITC excess away.
Sir, I want to add some points here. Now, you are saying that not mere quoting section will not make a notice invalid. Now, if you want, you're saying my input tax credit is ineligible. For me to give a reply to you, how do I know that on what point you are saying ineligible? Are you taking a ground that 155 is not established? Are you taking a ground it's 16.1 failed, it like it's not for business? Are you taking a ground that some conditions of 16.2 is missing? Are you taking a ground that it fits under 17.5? So the taxpayer has all the reason to say that the notice is vague. I really can't reply. Now, even if I go to the judge, I would only plea on what grounds you want me to reply. Only then I can reply. You are saying that this is not this credit is not eligible. So mere making a statement without quoting under which of the thing you are saying that it is ineligible is definitely an invalid notice.
Correct, Venu. I am with you on that point. But the thing is, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the content of that particular section is there itself in the notice. Once he says that 3B is not matching with 2A, right? So that content is there. Second is ITC is not eligible to you. It means it was ineligible to you, right? So that content of those particular two sections, 16.2 or 17.5, is already there in the notice. That is what my point is. I'm just putting this as when you prepare yourself, these things should also be in your mind. That why, and how can you say that the notice is vague? I'm not on the part of the department. Neither I'm. It is just
No,
a
no, no.
point of
We should
discussion.
definitely have devil's advocate also. But
Yeah,
my submission is, I agree my 2A is substantially lower than 3B. I am agreeing it. I am not denying it. Now, is that a mention in the act or the rules for someone to not take a credit? We are talking about a situation prior 1st January 22. After January 22, we have 16 to AA, AB, BA, all those additional stuff is there. The notice is not with 2B versus 3B, it was 2A versus 3B, which is not there in the act, nor in the rules. So one has to specific. I'm not denying the fact that 2A is higher, is lower than the 3B. Even with the quote or with you, I submit, I agree. But even as Srini rightly said that, which aspect of the credit, like I have taken 1 lakh rupees credit. Out of 1 lakh which I have taken, which 25,000 of that 1 lakh you are not okay with? You should let me know, no? Only then I can reply. Isn't it my right and duty to make this point aware to the adjudicating officer saying that you haven't even given me an opportunity of being heard? I want to make a reply. I want to give an explanation, but I don't know what to answer.
I'm not saying that only. I think you're not getting my point. My point is, what we were discussing is that can we directly challenge this SCN to the higher courts?
That is what I am saying. Yes.
Okay.
I am saying as yes.
Why?
I am not
What I
denying
feel.
the fact that 2A versus 3B. I agree my 2A is lower. But for me to reply which aspect of it he is wanting to ask, I don't know.
But I think, yeah, here Yashasvi Bhaiya is trying to say that you have to look substance over form. When substance is clearly mentioned in the SCN,
Exactly.
simply non-mentioning of the relevant section does not invalidate the show cause notice.
Exactly.
So I think
Chal, I
the
think.
house is divided. I think the house is divided, but the house has to move forward because we have to vote.
Correct, very true.
We'll
Sir,
note the
like,
dissent of the taxpayer as well as the respondent both, and we'll go ahead with that.
Yes.
So now we'll move on to the third question. I
Yeah.
think this is both the points are valid. So I think we are taking that into consideration. Now we'll move. Sriniji,
Yes,
to the
sir.
third question.
What is the view of the house on whether a 2A versus 3B should it be on a gross wise or per inward supply wise, sir, per invoice wise?
Actually, had it been a case of that original scheme 1, 2, 3, then probably it would have been valid. But since there is a 3B and where you claim ITC on a total summary basis, and there is no scheme of 1, 2, 3. So prior to 1st of Jan 22, simply on the gross basis, there is a difference in 2A and 3B. It would not make the show cause notice a proper show cause notice. You can of course litigate it. There are many cases available. Not only the cases but also the department's clarification that it is merely a facilitating document. It's not a mandatory document that you should compare the 2A and 3B. So there are many clarifications. There are judgments. Even Bharti Airtel also says that. So it's not a case. It's not a proper show cause notice. It has to be challenged.
Yes. So, moving on to the third question, where Rule 36(4).
Sir, just for a moment.
Yeah.
Sir, the earlier who was speaking, sir, can he share these clarification or case laws? 2A is just a facilitator for facilitating.
Yes, yes.
That is mentioned
They are
Bharti
available,
Airtel.
sir. Bharti Airtel, it is available. Then there are certain clarification in press release from the government which clearly says that 2A is a facilitator only.
Sir, my request is that kindly put it in the group, please, after this.
Sure.
Thank
Sure.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So, moving to the third question, where Rule 36(4), since it didn't have the backing prior to 1st Jan 22, whether it can be said that it is ultra vires to the Act. So, is there any opinion on this? Okay, so yeah.
Srini, can you just repeat the question?
So, Rule 36(4), can we say that it derives backing from Section 16(1), where it says subject to certain conditions and restrictions? Can it be put under there, or should we say that since there was no backing section, can it be put it as ultra vires through the Act?
No, I still for 36(4) is valid, and we cannot even link with 43A, which got repealed. It has its own powers.
Okay. So, from which section of the Act does it take the backings?
It's a 16(1) only where this is certain terms and conditions.
Yes.
Yes. We need not to even restrict to 16(1) AA, which came from 1st of Jan 22.
Yeah.
So prior to that also 16(1) says that certain terms with certain terms and conditions. So with that 36(4) can be validated.
Sir,
I would agree with that. 36(4) derives power from 16(1) itself.
Yes.
Sir, are there any court ruling no on 36(4)? I think there were certain cases filed. I think have we got some decision on 36(4), sir?
No, not to my knowledge.
No.
Not to. Okay. I think there are certain writs are filed against 36(4). Okay. So it's not decided yet. Thank you, sir.
So 2 circulars have been issued by department itself now, sir, in order to facilitate availability of credit. 183 and 192.
But they are subject to 36(4), right? The certificate that has to be produced is within. It should be within this limit of 20%. Beyond that,
Correct. That is true.
Yeah. So moving on to the fourth limb, where ITC, whether in today's context where GST is put forth as to eliminate all the cascading effect and having a value added tax in a better efficient manner, whether ITC can be called as an benefit, or is it an entitlement, that is it is a right of the assessor?
I think there are certain specific case laws with respect to that earlier regime also in VAT and the current, where it says that ITC is a concession or a benefit.
Benefit, yes.
Yeah.
So even in GST, we have precedent as shown in the thing where Kerala High Court is telling that benefit, it is a in nature of benefit or concession conferred under the statute. But I feel that when you say it is for eliminating cascading effect and to that it is a concept of value added tax, should it be a benefit? Isn't it right that we have?
First of all, I think it is a benefit or concession which is conferred by the statute. And once you avail that benefit or that concession, then thereafter it becomes that right now. It cannot be at the first stage that it is my right and I
It is
have
a
to-
right to take the benefit, is what you are telling.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Actually, if one go by the very purpose of the GST or preamble of the GST, then I think it is inbuilt in that it's for cascading effect, to remove the cascading effect, so ITC will be given. Okay, and I think there can be a school of thought also. We say it is a right, because whatsoever purchase I have made, I should be given the ITC of that. There are some procedural eligibility condition. There are certain substantial. If I'm saying I have fulfilled the substantial conditions, and then this procedural thing like this, that it was to be taken within that period or within this period, that can go away if the courts rule accordingly in future.
Yes. So
Especially 16.4 is not in the nature of treating ITC as a right.
16. In what context, ma'am? I mean, can you
They are-
elaborate on?
No, they are
Yes, ma'am.
It's not right any conferred by the constitutional provisions. It is a benefit which is allowed by the statute.
Okay. Okay, sir. So there are court proceedings that says that ITC is a benefit which is conferred by the statute, and so we can go with that for now. So moving on to the next case study. So Mr. Traveler is in the business of event management, who's registered in West Bengal. He specialized in conducting lavish business residential conference for industrial federation throughout India. An association of persons had approached him to manage their event of residential hands-on program for its member in Chennai. He had planned to book a 7-star hotel in Chennai for the stay of the participants. Now, Mr. Traveler wants to know whether he can avail the ITC of CGST plus TNSGST, where he is registered in West Bengal, and since the place of supply of such accommodation services being Chennai, and they have charged CGST and TNSGST. So here we have certain couple of ARR telling that it is Mr. Traveler is not a registered person in terms where in terms of Tamil Nadu SGST Act. So he will not be eligible to claim the ITC. Is the provision that is what the ARR is telling. But is there any specific restriction in the act that says we can't avail? Because when you go to the definition of ITC, it includes Your definition of input ITC, it includes all states, central state, UTGST, IGST, everything. So what is the prohibition that I have that restrains me from availing such ITC? Any views on this?
For this, actually, we need to travel to the State Tax Act. So in the State Tax Act, wherein Section 16 is there, it is meant input tax is defined as an input tax. So there are two terms in GST. So one is input tax, other is input tax credit. So where they have defined input tax, they have said that it is the state tax charged by the state. Okay. So charged in the state. So there is a restriction for state tax. But for central tax, we do not find any restriction in the act. Because even during the model law, when the discussions were going on, we had represented on this front that at least the central tax, since it's going to the central pool for settlement, that should be allowed inter se the states. State tax, we understand that maybe there is a challenge because that is the revenue that is going to the state government. So one state government cannot pass on the benefit to another state government. But in case of central tax, that could be, there is no restriction in the law. But as far as the state tax is concerned, there is a restriction which is imposed through the state GST Act. So if you refer to the definition of input tax,
Arubai, to add to your thing, being the consumption based tax.
Yes.
How would you treat this particular service where it is consumed?
So it is, see, the service is consumed in Chennai only, in Tamil Nadu only.
Then?
But ultimate consumer, see, what is happening is, there are two consumers here. One consumer is the person who is staying in the hotel. And another person is
there cannot be two consumers for one service.
No, there are two legs of this. One is the person who is staying in the hotel, right? For that, the state government is already getting it. So the question is that when the hotel is transferring to travel agent and travel agent is billing to the ultimate customer, whether that part we can do it. Whether that part we could do it. So
basically,
again,
the ITC is being availed by the traveler only.
Yeah.
So that is the just food for the thought that the consumption being the consumption based tax where it is consumed, then only and that place only the ITC will travel. That's what my point is.
Yes.
Sir, like in this particular point, sir, where is this condition mentioned? Sir, where is this condition mentioned in section 16 that input tax credit has to be linked to place of supply, sir?
No, that is there in the definition of input tax in the state GST Act. If you read any of the state GST Act,
no, sir. Yeah, that point I understood, sir. My point is that we are thinking that, we are discussing that where is the service getting consumed and linking it to availment of input tax credit. But in section 16, where is the linkage provided to place of supply? So why at all are we linking it to where are the services getting consumed?
No, see, that is again because of the preamble and the statement of objects.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you are reading the act, we have to go to the statement of objects. In the statement of objects, one of the cardinal principles of GST, as Malhotra sir was saying, is that about this no cascading effect of ITC. Another principle was this, that the consumption state, it will be consumption based tax. So the consuming state will get the revenue on this.
But if there is such principle if this principle is there in the statement of objects, without any specific, without any specific reference in section which is allowing me to take credit, like will it not go that as per literal interpretation credit is allowed, sir?
Yeah, actually, what happens? What happens is internal aids to interpretation. In the internal aids to interpretation, one of the important things is the statement of objects and the preamble to that.
Okay.
So that is what will have a governing effect on the law. So, but one thing you're saying is, which we have also argued in the court, is that there is no direct restriction in section 16. That which is abiding me or restricting me, I can't take it. Yes, Shiva, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I mean, though there is legal intent to do so, the here just because of the in the intent cannot deprive the assessee from the right that he have in the act, right? It is an intent of the act, but this is a benefit that the assessee has. And can can this intent be detrimental to the interest of the assessee?
Yes, it is detrimental because I'm not getting the credit though. So my cost is increasing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling, is it valid in that way?
But it is against the basic structure of the GST itself, no, sir. Then how can you pay an output tax of IGST using SGST? And how will the sharing happen? Because there is no such mechanism itself for the government to share tax like that. And that's why we have the rule 8080A also, the order of utilization of the tax.
Yes.
Yeah, this is also one argument that is being taken from the settlement as per IGST Act.
Arup sir, like sir, how you mentioned that under SGST Act there is a restriction that only that particular state's SGST credit can be taken. When we come to the definition of input tax under CGST Act, sir, the definition of input tax under CGST Act includes central GST, state GST, and integrated GST. So now can an argument be taken that under CGST Act I am allowed to take SGST credit?
Yeah, that's why we are able to take SGST credit. But when we read through harmonious construction of state tax and central tax, we'll see that state tax is imposing a restriction. So we are abiding by that actually, because we have to read both in consonance, like the state tax as well as the central tax. You have to read in consonance and harmonious construction basis. Only then we can, get the essence. So taking that actually, see, what I am saying this is because it's been argued in the courts also, right? Because I have shown the court also that we have given the representation even at the time of model laws that the state tax of one state should be allowed in the other state. And at least if not state tax, the central tax should be allowed because you're getting in the same pool. What is the reason? So I think that is there. But the main argument is that, again, as per the interpretation of statutes, we have to go on harmonious construction. So we cannot take CGST in isolation and state tax in isolation. Though for the sake of convenience, we are reading mainly CGST Act because that is easier for all of us. But in certain places, like state tax also finds relevance. So this is one such place.
Just to add, Arup sir, one more thing is, like as you're saying, the definition of input tax is central tax, state tax, and they're also using charged on any supply of goods or services. And if you read the definition of state tax also, it says tax levied under the state tax. So I think we can borrow from, yes. So if it is levied in that state.
Yeah, in that state.
So that also we can try to link to say that why we may not be able to take, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So continuing to the next case study, Mr. Rash Travels Private Limited, a firm, entity in the business of renting of motor vehicle on passenger transport service. They have availed ITC, that is CGST plus SGST on the cars. Here I mean to say that they have availed only CGST and SGST and they have not availed compensation assess. And to ensure the premium of the service that they provide, they are selling these car. They will not operate any car for a period more than 5 years. So they switch it within 5 years. And while selling these cars, they pay CGST, SGST on it, and they don't pay compensation cess, where they take the shelter of 1/2018 cess rate, where it has said that where ITC is not availed under section 263. So here, but the officer who has come and inspected is proposing to demand such compensation cess, and he is asking to pay amount of rupees 80 lakhs as compensation cess towards the sale of car. So now, is this contention of the officer is valid? Here, when you go to section, because the rate notification says IT input tax credit as defined under the clause 63 of section 2 of CGST Act. If any ITC is taken under such any ITC has been taken, then this benefit is not there. That is the nil rate of compensation cess, that benefit is not being given. So in this terms, can we say that he has availed the ITC, hence compensation cess has to be paid on the outward supplies? Anyone's take on this?
But ITC includes compensation cess, no? That because 263 refers 262. So 262, it basically talks on the taxes as far as I remember. It
Yes,
doesn't
ma'am.
include
262 doesn't refer to compensation cess. You are right.
compensation cess. Yeah.
Yes, so compensation cess, it is separately defined under Compensation Act, where it says input tax, because we are going for input tax credit, we are going to 263. Whereas when
But
you
sir, notification doesn't refer to 21G, no? It refers to 263.
Yes.
It talks about 263.
So basically, it talks about CGST, SGST, IGST, not about the compensation cess credit.
Yes.
But he has taken all these, but he has not taken the compensation cess credit.
Compensation cess credit, yes. So here, our understanding is that since for input tax, which is defined separately under Compensation Act, we need not go to 262 and say that even availing CGST and plus SGST will compel us to pay the compensation cess while we are selling that car.
Sir, but 263 specifically refers to 262, no?
It just refers.
It just says input tax credit of input tax taken. That's it.
Yes,
input tax taken.
It is not giving reference to the provision.
Input tax taken. Yeah.
So 262 is input tax credit means input tax.
Correct. And when there is when reference is made to one particular act, we have to see the definition in that particular act. No, we cannot go to some other different act and say it is meant there. Can we?
No, but here they take, since it is not defined in compensation cess act, they are putting it under this to define this particular section. So I think when you go to the specific provision of input tax credit for the purpose of compensation cess, then you have to see only compensation cess act, because it is governed by that particular act rather than this. This is an external linkage.
So you're saying
and even if you refer the definition of input tax for compensation cess,
10 o'clock, just a reminder.
Just 1 second. 1 minute. Because if you see that cess charge, so cess is also defined under Compensation Cess Act itself. So I think we still cannot borrow this definition of input tax for GST. Because if we read also input tax, this is cess charged on any supply. And this cess is also charged under the Compensation State Act, the respect to GST Act. So what I mean is that even we cannot borrow this definition also for purpose of GST. Even if we don't refer 262, we cannot refer 21G also. Because it is not at all a tax. It is a cess which is defined under that respective act itself. It is not defined in GST Act also. So I think we should not refer this Compensation Act. We should refer to the GST Act itself for this 263. and for this 1/2018 notification. This is my view. Just to add on that.
I think what this notification gives a reference to 263 for the definition of input tax credit. Now we come to CGST Act for the definition of input tax credit. It means the credit of input tax. Now input tax is again defined at two places. It is defined in CGST Act also. It is defined in Compensation Cess Act also. So the notification asks me to go to input tax credit definition. I go there. I find the word input tax. I can come back to Compensation Cess Act and refer the definition of input tax, which would again mean only credit of compensation cess.
But cess is also defined in GST Act. That's what I'm saying. If you read the cess, they are also referring to the Compensation Act itself. So artificially, we cannot add this definite. If this wouldn't have defined in GST Act, we would have thought in other way. But already it is defined in GST Act separately. If you read
input
CGST
tax
Act,
is defined in two places, ma'am.
Yes.
It is defined in CGST Act and Compensation Cess Act.
I agree.
In that case, why can't they directly refer defined in 21G of Compensation Cess Act?
Yeah, they would have
that is my
referred
point.
here 263 as well as 222 also. Then I would have agreed with your view. But when specifically they have referred 263, when there is a specific definition of 2 subsection 22, then I think we cannot read that to borrow only the input tax from the Compensation Cess Act. Because both are from CGST Act itself, 222 and 263.
Correct.
So it means specifically government wants to give the reference of only 263 and not 222. This is
Moreover,
just
if 263 is occasionally borrowing from Compensation Act, then also we can say this. But in no other circumstances, 263 is borrowing from Compensation Act. But just for the purpose of this notification alone, how can we borrow from 21G?
So input tax credit is
So with
not
this-
defined in Compensation Cess Act.
Compensation cess, yes, that is what.
The input tax credit is not defined in Compensation Cess Act. That is why they're referring to CGST Act.
Okay, that. So I
Add
think
input tax credit.
we'll have to park.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll have to park this question, and this is a food.
See, again, even if I hold your all the arguments right, what about the last leg? Any other taxes paid on such vehicle?
Yeah.
Which one, sir?
The last leg, it says any other
See,
taxes paid on.
Here, any other tax will draw its connection from SENVAT and VAT, not from cess.
Yes. Agreed,
Because
sir.
it will come on the adjustive generation, it will come on that principle, the following word. So with this, I am really happy to share that we had a wonderful discussion today at SMS. And thank you, Srini ji, for this wonderful, insightful case study that you have prepared. They were short and crisp, so we could quickly gather them. So we have traveled to Chennai, and we have also got a car, and we've got a lot of things. So thank you very much. And thanks to all the participants for your wholehearted interaction. These interactions only make the thing, I think our takeaway is quite interesting. And I'm sure each one of us are taking away something at least one new thing from this SMS every day that we are doing. So thank you very much. Just to remind you once again that next Saturday, 29 June, we are having our virtual annual conference of our GST faculty group, which is a celebration of implementation of GST, because of which we are all here today in this group. So we are celebrating that moment. So we have none other than Advocate K. Naveen Kumar sir, who will be taking us to the GST Appellate Tribunal provisions, and our very own PA Gurjeet Bhullar sir, who will be taking us to the returns and forms Kal, Aaj or Kal. And we also have CSK Malhotra sir as the moderator for this wonderful session. So please do join in, and you can share the flyer with your circles also, so that anybody who is a GST enthusiast, they can join in. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone.
And one point,
Yeah,
the next session is first come, first serve basis. We only have 100 people there. So just be on time. So after 95, the session would get logged off. Yeah, that's it. And thank you, Srini. Thank you, Arup bhai. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Yes.
Bye.